Hey everyone, this is Derrick Broze of the Conscious Resistance Network, and today we're going to talk about freedom cells proving themselves in action. But before we do that, I want to remind you guys to bookmark theconsciousresistance.com to get all of our latest content and follow us on our social media networks. Support our sponsor, My Brave Botanicals, if you want to get a free ounce of kratom and check out their CBD products. And one other thing I want to mention is I'm not doing a tour this year. Some of you may be aware I've done 2 tours the last summer, touring the United States and giving speeches, hosting meditations, and organizing, community action. I'm not going to be doing that this year, at least not in the way I have in the past. But if those of you who are interested in having me come speak, please reach out to me. I want to start setting up some sort of small tour, but it's going to be done under different circumstances. I need to know there's going to be a certain amount of people. It's going to be, smaller, more, I guess, private events. So get in touch with with me about that. All right, so I saw this story come across the headlines yesterday, and I know some of you, I've realized, of course, my channel has such a mix of people that there are some who are really against illegal immigrants, and then there are those who are, I think on the right side of things and who get the fact that empowering the state to go after people is never a good thing. And especially in the long term, for those who care about freedom, empowering the state to come take away a certain class of people. It doesn't mean you don't have law and order and there's no rules or anything. And there's no, limitations on who can come into your community and your neighborhoods and things like that. But doing it in the way that the federal government is getting stronger is not something I want to empower. So here we go, a story from Hermitage, Tennessee. ICE tries to bring man in Hermitage in custody. Neighbors form human chain to let them go home. So let's just watch this quick clip here.
Agents tried to bring a Hermitage man into custody, but instead found themselves in a standoff with the man and his neighbors. News Channel 5's Jesse Knutson reports that the neighbors created a human chain so the man and his son could get safely into their home.
These are a couple of ICE officers.
For 4 hours, a man and his son sat inside of this car as 2 Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents tried to get them to surrender. The father is reportedly in the country illegally, so the ICE agents were tasked with bringing him into custody. But when neighbors heard what was going on, they came to assist their neighbor.
We made sure they had water, they had food, we put gas back in the vehicle when they were getting low, just to make sure that they're okay.
These folks in Hermitage say they don't care how someone got here, it's how they act when they are here.
The family don't bother nobody, they work every day, they come home, the kids jump on their trampoline, it's just a community.
Stacy Farley helped create a human chain to help the family get from their car safely into their home, and she did not think twice about supporting her neighbors.
I could see if these people were bad criminals, but they're not. They're just trying to provide for their kids.
The standoff brought Metro Police to the scene to keep the peace, council members, as well as lawyers to evaluate the situation.
There were 2 immigration officials sort of bullying a family inside their own vehicle, telling them that they had an administrative warrant, which isn't the same thing as a judicial warrant, and trying to harass them and fear them into coming out.
At the end of the day, the ICE agents left and the family ended up leaving too, in search of a safer place. Neighbors in this community say they will support their neighbors as long as they're here or anywhere else. They say if ICE comes back, they'll also come back to try and protect their neighbors. In Nashville, Jesse Knutson, News Channel 5.
All right, so pretty interesting stuff. Now, I'm sure some of you, again, who are against this kind of thing are freaking out like, oh my God, they're all criminals. They all should be locked up. But this, to me, is a beautiful, beautiful example of a community coming together. And there's other coverage of this that you can see. I'll post all these links below, of course. Hermitage neighbors step in as ICE tries to take man into custody. ICE investigation ongoing. Neighbors stop ICE from arresting a man at his Hermitage home. It got a lot of local coverage and, really focusing on the human chain aspect. And the mayor of Nashville says, of Tennessee, of Nashville, every Nashville resident and family deserves to feel safe regardless of immigration status. My statement on yesterday's event is my job as mayor to keep all Nashvillians safe. On Monday, ICE agents attempted to detain a Nashville resident. However, the agents did not end up detaining the resident and no arrests were made. Our police officers do not actively participate in immigration efforts and only serve as peacekeepers. The officers were at the incident to keep neighbors safe and secure a perimeter. I was keenly aware that this type of activity by our federal government stokes fear and distrust in our most vulnerable communities, which is why we do not use local resources to enforce ICE orders. That's cool. See, again, on the local level, he's a politician on the local level, a mayor, but he's still saying we're not going to empower this federal organization. I will continue to work with local advocacy organizations like TIRC to make sure residents know their rights. All right. And then you had another report from another journalist who was describing the whole thing. And, it's interesting. This is cool, though, I think, because, well, let me go show you a clip of a video I put out last summer. Freedom cells applied to immigration raids. Now, you guys may be aware of what I talk about as freedom cells. I put out several videos, freedom cells with localization and decentralization of the food chain, freedom cells in Standing Rock, freedom cells on organizing against violent cops, freedom cells on all kinds of issues that they can be applied to. And in this video, I'm talking about how if there was an immigration raid going on in your community, an ICE raid, and again, taking one of your community members, then what would you do? How would you respond to this? And just take a listen at what I said you should do.
Role playing needs to come into. This is where you and your community and your decisions and your choices and your preferences come into play. I cannot tell you how to respond to the situation. I can give you advice. I can say that if it was me and if I had enough of a crew of people who cared about this, I would work with them and say, let's role play how we can stop our friends from being taken away by the state. And maybe that looks like people linking arms and physically standing in the way of buildings so that the police, ICE agents cannot get through. How do you respond when you have a gun in your face from ICE? That's up to each of you to decide. That's up to you and your community to decide. Maybe it looks like people open carrying, peacefully but assertively open carrying, and making it clear, hey, we're not going to let you do this, okay? You're going to have to come back with more guns, or you're going to have to arrest all of us, or you're going to back down, right? And maybe those are risks you're not willing to take. I can understand that. I can absolutely empathize. But my point here in doing this video and talking about this topic is that the ICE raids, the violent police, the child protective services, the state in general is going to continue to raid, take people from their families, take children away from parents, arrest people for BS reasons. It's going to do what it wants to do until people start organizing. So if you care about this, if you actually want to do something about ICE, if you want to actually do something to protect your friends and family, then start getting organized. Tell them about freedom cells, mutual.
All right, you guys get it. Tell them about freedom cells. So if you haven't heard me talk about freedom cells before, please do check it out. We do have freedomcells.org, which is a website built to help you connect with people. I know some folks have said they've been having trouble signing up on this for a while. Please just give it a shot, and look around the website. We built this. A friend built it, and I have not been able to get in touch with them, honestly, just to be straight up. And so I can't make any changes to it at the moment. But it's worth getting into. This is a great way to connect with people. And there's more videos, freedom cells with weather emergencies, 10 tips for building a freedom cells, introducing the freedom cell. And whatever you call it, it doesn't matter. The whole goal is to organize. Now, I bet some of you out there are hearing this like, oh my God, he's advocating people organize against the government and organize against ICE. That's our federal government. And they're our good agents of ICE. They're out there trying to do good. Well, I'm also advocating to do this to stop the IRS from coming and kidnapping somebody because they haven't paid their taxes, their ransom. Doing this to stop CPS from taking somebody's kids because they don't vaccinate or because they don't like the way that they medicate. Things of that sort. This can be applied in all kinds of ways. And like I said just a moment ago in the other video, the reality is that if we don't organize, then this is going to keep happening. So you may not like it, those of you who are a little more on the right, but if you say you stand up for freedom, you stand for liberty, then you need to be willing to stand up and say, we're not going to allow this to happen. Because if you let the federal government come into your community and you stand by and do nothing while they take people, even if they're here without the proper paperwork, I'm not saying nothing should be done. But, the focus should be on violent people, criminals, actual criminals, not, just nonviolent individuals who are working hard to provide for their families. And if you really care about freedom and liberty, then you would defend that. You would stand with them, even if you didn't like the fact that they got here illegally, because you should know where this is going to lead. It's not just going to stop at quote unquote illegal immigrants. Eventually, the state will be empowered and feel bold enough to come take away anybody who challenges them. So it's time for us to get organized. And I said this more than a year ago. I've been saying this for a couple of years. And freedom cells are coming into action. They may not call it a freedom cell. Sometimes it happens spontaneously like this. But this is what I've been talking about. And if you're organized, if you've actually taken some practice, when this kind of stuff goes down, you know what to do. It doesn't have to be chaotic. It can actually work out. And in this case, it did work out. These people were able to protect this family. So, beautiful example. Freedom cells in action. The concept works. Now go use it. All right, guys, until next time, remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, you are free. Peace.